Hi, everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about Chapter 13 in your textbook, Delivering a Speech with Professional Excellence. This video is short and sweet. We're going to talk about overcoming communication apprehension when giving a speech, using supporting aids, and talk a little bit about team presentations. So first, we're going to talk about overcoming communication apprehension. It's very normal. Many people experience it, especially in the case of public speaking. So it's okay to acknowledge that this is something that happens to all of us, but there's also a lot of strategies that we can use to overcome it. Oftentimes, when you get up to deliver a presentation, you will experience an adrenaline rush. The delivery of a presentation requires you to put yourself out there in front of an audience, and in the deep recesses of your mind, your body is going to signal danger, 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 even though there's no real imminent threat. But as a result of this psychological, physiological process, you might start sweating, but we can minimize the effects of this by wearing lightweight clothing that is comfortable and breathable, having cold water available to us before, during, and after the presentation. And we can even use a handkerchief as tissue to wipe your face if you need to, like your forehead or your upper lip. Flushing is also something that will often happen, but a lot of the same strategies that we use to minimize sweating will also work for blushing. A lot of people don't really know what to do with their hands when they're giving a speech, and sometimes we might even have shaky hands if we get nervous. But one way to kind of avoid this is to use effective gestures. I try to use a lot in my teaching because I'm from New York, and sometimes I'm accused of having RBF. So I try to make up for it by using a lot of gestures. Avoid holding things, but if you do need to hold things to prevent your hands from shaking, use thick paper like index cards. So if you do shake, it's less noticeable. If you have a flimsy piece of paper, it might be more obvious that your hands are shaking. Try not to put your hands in your pockets. This can sometimes signal that you're being too casual to an audience. So try to rest them on a podium if you have one, or just put them gently by your sides. Also be mindful of what you're doing with your feet. Try not to shuffle and bounce. If you do feel the need to move, just walk around, which is great. You know, don't box yourself into a very small space. That can make you look kind of rigid. So it's okay to use the space and walk around if you feel comfortable doing so. Also, we need to be mindful of our vocal quality, specifically our volume. Be sure to project. Oftentimes, you underestimate how loud you're being, especially in big rooms. So generally, the louder, the better. It's not often that you're going to come across as yelling at someone. It's more likely that you'll be too quiet. Also, consider your speaking rate. I particularly struggle with this. I often talk very fast, and sometimes it's hard for students to understand me. But you can counteract this with deliberate breathing. So be conscious of your inhaling and exhaling in order to slow yourself down to a more appropriate speaking rate. Also, vocal fillers like, and things like that. Try to reduce them by practicing your presentation. The more confidence you have in what you're saying, the less likely you are to pause and use these vocal fillers. This one might seem kind of surprising, but studies show that eye contact actually reduces nervousness. So don't be afraid to engage with some of the people up closest to you in your audience via eye contact. It's also very important to consider your clothing. You want to look professional to support your credibility and, look good, feel good, present good. It's also fine and important to have a sense of play. If we approach giving a speech like it is fun, we'll often reduce a lot of these nervous things and problems that we may have. And the audience might find us more relatable anyway. Kind of related, you want to strive for conversational quality. In some ways to do that, if you do feel the need to have some sort of organizing document for your speech, an outline of your topics is better than a manuscript because it will help you avoid being monotone. And as you practice public speaking, you'll start to learn what responses to expect when you have adrenaline rushes, and they will no longer be unknown. So when you experience them, you can kind of incorporate them into your speech as you strive for conversational quality. In the end, the more you do this, you'll be able to use the adrenaline rush to your advantage by presenting with energy and passion and really getting at that conversational, excited quality that we look for in great public speakers. And finally, practice. Especially if you have the opportunity to do it in front of a friend or family member or just some other sort of audience, this can help you determine if your presentation is effective. Like communication, speakers do tend to overestimate their effectiveness in presentations. So it really is a need for honest practice, and getting feedback from your audience can be super helpful and important to just making your presentations the best they can be. Now we're going to talk about supporting aids. Supporting aids are tools used by a speaker to help support the audience's interest in understanding the presenter. These are not completely necessary. If you like them, use them. If not, don't. Clarity is the most important thing, and if visual aids help you, then go for it. When a supporting aid is displayed, the audience will split their attention between you and that supporting aid. Which honestly, if you keep that in mind, that can help you reduce some of your anxiety. And in addition, supporting aids provide another layer to your presentations that can enhance interest. A well-designed supporting aid also helps the audience by increasing understanding, enhancing retention, and facilitating listening. For audience members who are visual learners, seeing key points, demonstrations, or other supporting materials is essential for their understanding. In addition, every time you repeat your message, you increase retention. I try to employ these principles in my slides for this course. I put main points and definitions up there so that you can see when I'm transitioning between topics, and that you can get the main point, but still have enough cognitive effort to listen to me and all the additional details, explanations, and examples I provide related to each of those topics. But moving on, there's a few different types of supporting aids that we can use, like presentation slideshows like PowerPoint or Prezi are two really common ones. Video clips, audio clips, graphs, charts, illustrations, and photos, objects and models, and demonstrations. Again, if you like these things, use them. If not, don't. The important thing is to be clear and to help you overcome your anxiety. So if these are effective to you, use them. If you don't think they are, that's okay. You can still be an effective speaker without them. I want to end by just talking about a little bit about team presentations. So there's no real formal content here. I just want to give you all some advice, as you will have to likely do these in many business and professional settings. So you should think of group presentations as one big speech. As such, it should begin like any other effective presentation, a developed introduction with an attention-getting device. When it comes to researching and designing the body of the presentation, it's important that you all work together. If you do all work together and work in conjunction and prepare thoroughly prior to the presentation, it will be more successful. Together, you should break down the presentation into main points, determine all the content to be covered, speaking order, and the amount of time for each speaker. As each new speaker presents their portion of the presentation, they must include all the components of an effective presentation. So each speaker should have a clear introduction and conclusion and transitions between speakers. Each speaker must have clear organization of the things that they are talking about. And if you are using supporting aids in your team presentations, that also must be handled by the entire group during planning so that there is consistency throughout in both appearance and use of visual aids. You can also have an organizer that can effectively give the introduction and conclusion and any transitions if you don't want to transition between each other. For the presentation to look professional and polished, both planning and practice must occur as a team. It's very hard for you all to do all your work separately and then try to fit it all together at the last second. Teams that fail to plan together or don't run through the presentation at least once often stumble and bumble in front of their audience. And we definitely don't want that because it's very distracting to our overall message. So that's it. Like I said, short and sweet. We just talked about ways that we can overcome communication apprehension when we're giving a speech. We talked about the use of supportive aids and that we don't necessarily have to use them, but like some good things to keep in mind if we do want to use them and the different ways that we can use them. And then we ended with a little bit of discussion about team presentations. That is all, and I will see you in the next video.